If you want baseball and you want it now, then you've got to speak your mind. Go to all your social media outlets, tell your friends, your family, pound your fist on the table, because that's what I did.
Can't wait till baseball starts back up. It's getting a little out of control, and I'm thinking that people need to start voicing their demand for baseball. If you want baseball back, just start screaming it from a mountaintop until people listen and hear. Enough of this. Enough of the whole thing. We want baseball. We want it now.
Tweet it. Post it. Snapchat it. Whatever you've got to do. Tell everybody. Speak it into existence. There's momentum gaining right now, and we need to push it forward. There's articles, there's reports that they're seriously talking now about resuming baseball operations at the end of June. Let's read a little article about it, shall we? Here you go. Free access to The Athletic via Stryker breaks. Let's read this article together, or at least some of it. Hook me up with a like and a subscribe while you're at it. All right, here we go. Rosenthal. Ken Rosenthal, known baseball insider. This guy knows what's up. Rosenthal. An inside look at the possibilities and risks of an MLB restart. Pick an idea for the 2020 season. Virtually any idea, and baseball is considering it, modeling it, trying to figure out exactly how it will work if tests for you-know-what are sufficiently available and government and medical officials offer the requisite approval. Those involved at the sport's highest levels, wow, this is boring. Let's just keep going. We don't need to hear all this nonsense. We all know this. We all know we're in a pandemic. And you have yet to determine. Okay, you're just trying to get your word count up. Rather than rush into a plan and increase the risk of mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. The parties would need to negotiate any new playing conditions. No kidding, we know. The union would likely resist any suggestion of a further reduction in salaries. You think? The players already have agreed to prorated salaries in a shortened season, but the league might ask for additional concessions in a season that at least would begin with no fans in attendance. So, what he's telling you here is it's all about money. Because if there's not going to be any fans in the stands, then baseball's not going to make any money. So that's the point we're at right now, folks. It's not because of the you-know-what, it's because of the moolah. How do we push it forward? Pressure. The optimism for baseball's return stems in part from a number of states that are considering lifting stay-at-home restrictions. Good job, states. Such decisions, motivated in some cases by political considerations, likely would influence baseball and its clubs, but not solely govern them. Teams would need to be comfortable they were proceeding safely. The Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays, for example, acted largely on guidance from the league and medical experts when they shut down March 15th, more than 2 weeks before the blah, blah, blah. Okay, no one cares. 3 weeks ago, the most likely path for baseball appeared to be a plan in which all 30 teams would begin the season under quarantine in Arizona. Horrible plan, nobody liked it. Thank you for telling us about this plan that we already know about. Anybody who's reading this already knew about that, Ken. So thanks for trying to get your word count up again. Baseball is considering a wide range of possibilities. Thank you. We thought that they were considering a very narrow range of possibilities. Thanks, Ken. Even the 3-state idea reported by CBS Sports, hubs in Florida, Texas, and Arizona. 3 great states, by the way. 3 of the greatest states in the union. Interesting how they're the ones pushing this forward. Might be less ambitious than the one baseball ultimately selects. So you're telling us that's not going to happen. Thanks for poo-pooing on it. The 3-state idea, reported by CBS Sports, hubs in Florida, Texas, and Arizona, might be less ambitious than the one baseball ultimately selects. The league could open in 10 to 12 states, or in 20 home parks, sources say. This is good. Or it could start in Florida, Texas, and Arizona, then take a break after, say, 5 weeks to reassess the viability of moving to other locations. They're not going to take a break in the middle of the season when they're forcing games in. Double headers, playing every single day. They're not just going to take a break. Even states hit hardest by the fear, New York, Michigan, California, might welcome the return of baseball in empty parks, citing it as an example of life returning to normal. Yeah, that would be great. That's what we want. So much is fluid, so much is unknown. Oh, now comes the nonsense out of Mr. Rosenthal. So much is fluid, so much is unknown. How much travel would be feasible by the time the season opened? How would the league adjust to the schedule if it moved games to different sites? And, most pressing, how can baseball even think seriously about starting the season when the shortage of tests for COVID-19 remains a nationwide concern? Oh no! There's the classic Rosenthal fear-mongering, fear campaign. The shortage of tests! Get out of here. Ideally, tests would be so plentiful that baseball could help facilitate testing for the general public in states where games are played, adding to the accessibility rather than subtracting from it. And then he's got a study released by Harvard. Yeah, they don't have an agenda. Said that 31 states and DC were doing little testing last week to identify most infected people in a timely manner. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. They're doing little testing. Only millions and millions and millions and millions of people are being tested. The longer the sport waits, the greater the number of options that may arise. So what are you saying there, Rosenthal? We should wait even longer? That's what you're implying. Let's just keep waiting? No! We don't want to wait anymore. Just get it going. Adapt on the fly. Provided nonsense numbers trend positively in states under consideration, the most realistic time range for opening day, somewhere between mid-June and July 4th. Why is that? Oh, you have no reason to say that? Okay. In the view of most officials, really? That's quite a range there, a whole month range. But I get it. Would allow for an 80 to 100 regular game season, with the schedule running through October. An expanded postseason at neutral sites might follow, with the World Series ending in late November or early December. Such a plan would hold particular appeal to the league's national broadcast partners. If the college football season is abbreviated or canceled, creating more programming slots, it's not going to be. College football is not going to be canceled. You heard it here first on Stryker Breaks. Creating more programming slots. Who cares about programming slots? I mean, I know that's a consideration. They'll make it work. These programs, these channels, these streaming services are desperate for content. They're desperate for new content. Nobody's making new content. They want it. They'll find the programming slots. The NFL plans to play this fall. Yeah, because they crush. As momentum for baseball season builds, some club officials even believe that opening parks to a limited number of fans might be possible in August or September in locations where the nonsense thing appears under control. An idea that seemed unthinkable only weeks ago and still might be impractical. One club official acknowledged that fans in such a scenario might need to wear masks and gloves to undergo temperature checks as they entered ballparks. No thanks, I'll just stay home and watch it then. So will everybody else. So that's not going to work. Parks could open to far less than capacity initially. Say 15,000. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. You know what? 30,000 fans, that's too much. But 15,000, that'll do the trick. That is nonsensical. That doesn't make sense. All these places opening to a limited capacity is only like a placebo. It's only a mental thing for people to be like, oh, well, see, they're still trying. They're still trying to social distance. It's nonsense. So 15,000 fans, that's the key number. How'd you come up with that? Exactly. No one can say anything. Oh, well, CDC guidelines. Nonsense. While such an idea still sounds far-fetched, New York Yankees president Randy Levine told Fox Business Network last week that it is not practical for the league to play without fans for an entire season. Really? Is that so? Thanks for the insight, Randy Levine. Thank you. for telling us that it is not practical. Why isn't it practical? Because of money. League officials say teams draw about half their local revenue from game day expenditures, such as tickets, concessions, merchandise, and parking. So all the things that the fans get screwed on. Ticket prices, outrageous. Concessions, it should be a crime how much they charge to get a drink. Merchandise, ridiculously overpriced. And parking. You know how much parking is. It's stupid. But before baseball, hey, how about this one? How about the players don't make $30 million a season to play ball, and then we could maybe afford to get a drink of soda or maybe a beer that doesn't cost $12. But before baseball can even think about opening parks to fans, it must establish a start date, schedule, and plan for the postseason, and decide whether it will host its annual All-Star game. So you're telling me before baseball can even think about opening parks to fans, before they can even think about it, says Mr. Rosenthal, it must establish whether it will hold its annual All-Star game. Just think about that for a second, guys. Think about what you read. Always think about what you're reading and if it makes sense. This man who has written this article is a nonsense man. I'm just having fun with the article because I'm optimistic that baseball will start. But this man is part of the problem. And I'm sure, oh yeah, you guys love Rosenthal. Yeah, he's a straight shooter. Even the relatively simple undertaking of resuming spring training will produce its own set of complications. Yeah. Bunch of dudes throwing a ball when they're 50 feet apart from each other or more. That's big problems. Players likely would need 7 to 10 days notice before reporting. Why exactly? Is it because they're traveling all over the world and they need 7 to 10 days to get their act together to get home? No, everybody's sitting at home. They don't need 7 to 10 days. They need like 2 days notice. How about you tell them right now, be ready. Before reporting, and spring training would figure to last about 3 weeks, half its usual length. Okay, how about 2 weeks? I'll give you 2 weeks. You don't need 3. I don't care if everybody isn't perfectly in perfect physical condition and the pitchers are ready to throw 6, 7, 8 innings. No, just get started. The most likely scenario, coming from a man who doesn't know, would be for teams to return to Florida and Arizona. Okay, that would be great, particularly if those are the 2 states where the season will begin. But what if some teams in states with relaxed restrictions open at home? Might it be easier for them simply to train their home parks and save their players the inconvenience of finding housing for 3 weeks than relocating? Thanks for the idea. Might it? Might it be easier? Maybe you should be in charge of this, Rosenthal. A 3-week spring, I'm sure you would love that. I'm sure you would love to be an advisor for this. Alas, you're just a reporter. A 3-week spring training also might not be enough for starting pitchers. Okay, already talked about this. Who cares? Give them 2 weeks. Don't let them throw 6 innings until they're ready. Would that work? You know, there are things in baseball called openers now. We've got openers, long relievers, and closers. And a bunch of people in between that just pitch for 1 inning here, 1 inning there. A 3-week spring training also might not be enough for starting pitchers, who in a normal camp build arm strength by throwing bullpen sessions, then live batting practice, then in exhibition games in which they work a progressively higher number of innings. Yep, that's how it works. Most pitchers have continued throwing during the sports hiatus, but not to hitters. But that doesn't matter either. You don't need 3 weeks of throwing to hitters. The expansion of rosters would help ease their burden, but the risk to the starters and potential free agents in particular surely would be a topic of discussion. How about you just take that right out of your article? That's stupid. Okay. None of this is simple. Oh, really? It's quite simple, actually. It is. It really is. But people like you make it more complex by inserting all of these made up scenarios, all of these potential scenarios in your mind. Yes, you have to think about all this stuff, but let's just get moving. None of this is simple. Baseball would need to establish protocols enabling teams to continue playing if they lost one or more players to the made up nonsense thing. None of this is simple. Baseball would need to establish protocols enabling teams to continue playing if they lost one or more players to the nonsense thing. Hey, I got an idea right off the top of my head just as I'm reading this. Oh, by the way, guys, I haven't read this article in advance. I'm just reading it for the first time now. How about this? If you lose a player to the nonsense thing or two, you can call up any player you want and it won't cost you anything. There we go. All solved. Call up another guy or another or however many you need. We'll make the accommodation. Okay, now that fake issue is solved, protocols that might work better in theory than in practice. No, you're just trying to make it more difficult than it is. Put it all together, and the challenges for the sport seem almost insurmountable. Oh my God. You know, that's what this guy's all about. Fear, panic, desperation, insurmountability. That's what almost all journalists are all about. They want clicks, they want fear, they want your emotion to be driven by this. Just know that. Because it does not seem almost insurmountable, as a matter of fact. To me, it seems quite simple. Get it all going right now. May 1st, baby. Call them up right now. If your players can't play in a certain state because the governor is tyrannical, send them to a state that's open or that's opening. Real easy. You can figure that out with a couple phone calls. But for a $10.7 billion industry, because that's what Mr. Rosenthal cares about, is this thing right here. 10.7 billion. That's what he really cares about. And the nation's psyche, yes, this is what I care about. Too much is at stake for baseball to stop trying. Do you know the morale boost that the United States of America and the whole world would get if baseball resumed in any capacity? Morale is the most important part of fighting a war. The most important part of fighting a war, which is supposedly what this is. We need morale. We need it now. And you need to do your part. And you need to scream from a mountaintop. We want baseball and we want it now. I'll catch you guys later.